Oh no, it's ruined. Making lost bread, the edible kind. Not that kind of edible, the kind you make in your kitchen, food. You'll see. Hey, good morning. I'm just here to kind of talk to you about what's been going on and my sobriety journey, which really informs my writing on Lost Bread, Creeping Wave, and everything else at the moment. One of the weird things that you find out when you go into sobriety is that people are only supportive of you so long as you're pitiable, so long as they can latch on to you and be like, I'm your supportive friend, I'm your rock. But if you're just really not in need of that, if you're just not that kind of a person, they don't like that. They get really angry, and they try to come in and try to be your therapist, and I'll coach you through it. I'm an empath, and I know what you're thinking. It's like, well, you want to tell me what I'm thinking. Basically, for me, everything was about I am a very personal person who creates artwork and likes to work by myself in solitude. And I overexposed myself by very suddenly deciding to do every art show and convention that had anything loosely to do with my projects that I could get signed on to. And I met a lot of people, and I was like, oh, this is networking. You have to be nice to everybody. You just have to do the rounds. That's how it works. And I just got myself into a situation where I didn't know how to say, yeah, no, I don't want to spend time with you. I don't want to talk to you all the time. I don't want to email you all day long. That's not how I want to spend my free time. And I think in our culture, we don't have any recourse for that. If somebody's being nice to you and you don't gel with them, there's kind of no situation where you can say, like, you know what, just no, I don't want that. At least that I understood. If you're in a relationship with somebody and you just don't like them, you can't dump them because they haven't done anything. They're not mean. They're not doing anything nasty to you, are they? Oh my gosh. Well, why would you do that? Don't you want someone to go to parties with? And don't you want all the things that go along with being in a relationship and a friendship? And I kind of don't. I don't really value those things. One of the biggest things that I want to talk about that was kind of a surprise to me was weight. Weight is a very political thing right now. It's especially if you're a woman. Now, it's okay if you gain weight. Everybody tells you it's okay if you gain weight when you stop drinking because you're going to want to replace the alcohol with sugar. And if you go to a lot of sobriety type meetings, there's always bagels and muffins and candy and stuff like that. And yeah, they're kind of leaning into that, replace one addiction with another. But if you're the kind of person who starts losing weight when you stop drinking, where your metabolism starts returning to normal and you were not really a big person to begin with when you weren't drinking, but drinking really got you plumped up. And there's nothing wrong with being plumped up, but not everybody's natural body inclination is to be plumped up. And I actually eat so much more now that I'm not drinking than I did when I was drinking, because I would ration my calories. I would say like, oh yeah, we can't do this because we want the alcohol to hit hard and we don't want to waste calories. We want to get the alcohol in there. And I was just drinking to tolerate being around people. I'm a misanthrope at heart. I can't help it. I learned how to deal with people, but maybe in smaller doses going forward. Of course, you have to deal with people. They're everywhere, right? But have you met them? They're awful. But so, yes, they are. They're awful. He says they're not awful. But
well, not all of them.
Maybe there's a few.
There's some real pieces of work out there.
Some real pieces of work. Yeah. And I think that what's interesting is once I started losing weight, I started hearing how unhealthy I was and how I really had just stopped drinking to get skinny. and that this was a vanity thing for me, and that and always from like unnamed accounts with no profile picture. So a little cowardly. But I just thought, I'm going to show you what I eat in a day. How about that? On second thought, I'll show you what I eat for breakfast. I got things to do. I can't hang out with you all day. For this recipe, you need bread. I like sourdough. Cheese is Parmesan. An oyster mushroom. Look how pretty that is. I like a little roasted garlic. You can actually roast the garlic, or you can get the paste and cheat like I did, and butter, but mostly to just sort of like help the pan so that the stickiness doesn't happen on there. And also eggs. I forgot about the eggs. Those are important, and I forgot. But eggs. You gotta take that oyster mushroom and you gotta chop it. Then you put it in a pan with the roasted garlic and the butter. And then you take that bread and you chop it. And then you take some eggs, you crack them open, you swirl them around. And this is basically a French toast. You see what I'm doing here? Yeah, French toast. Except this is a savory French toast recipe. You just let that bread suck up the eggs. Then you put it in there. And our oyster mushrooms, they're still going strong. But I have taken them off the burner at this point. You leave them on for as long as you need. Really, you just kind of want to heat them up and get the flavors. You got to melt that cheese once your bread's sucked up all the egg, and then you scoop those oyster mushrooms on there, and you got yourself some lost bread, which is actually the direct translation of pain perdu, which is the French for lost bread or French toast. Hey, it's good. And Lost Bread, it's upside down, is actually the name of the comic that I started in 2016. There are 2 issues of it. It's a graphic novel. It started from a novel that I wrote and was trying to query. I didn't know how to query back then. I would just Google the names of publishers without thinking like, do they work in the genre that I'm working in? Are they going to be interested in my material? If I found an address, I sent, and I got rejected because there was no thought that went into my pitches. And instead of talking to writers I actually respected, whose careers I actually envied, trying to get more information, I just kind of took the advice of an editor that I had worked with who said, you got to get this in front of people in the paranormal, the esoteric community, because the novel, it works on those themes. It's basically about a person who is rediscovering a life that they lived, a life that they have forgotten through their lucid dreams. And they slowly come to realize that they have this whole past that they didn't know about. And the reason it's called Lost Bread is because the dream cycle is broken by breakfast. And lost bread is my favorite breakfast. And it really is about dreams that I have. And I thought it would be an interesting piece, but I just repurposed it as a webcomic to get it out there on a web format to kind of make it more interesting to a website that I had kind of hooked on with, who did a paranormal podcast, and they were looking for bloggers. And I was like, how about a webcomic? And I did that. But I worked in a lot of little Easter eggs about the show and a lot of cutesy little jokes and inside jokes and stuff like that, and really diluted the plot line. And I don't want to do that anymore. I want to focus on this not so much as a comic, but as a novel, which is what it originally was conceived as. And I want to do artwork, but I want to do more detailed, thoughtful pieces instead of doing panel by panel by panel like you do with a comic book. I want the tool of narrative so I can develop the thoughts and the inner monologue of my characters. And that's what I want to work on right now. And I'm not so much getting diverted by my need to put inside jokes or kind of like ingratiate myself to a specific audience at this point. What I'm kind of getting my stumbling block right now is that I feel like as I reveal more of the story, and it is personal, their Creeping Wave, Lost Bread, it all is basically a personal mythos that I'm putting forward. And there's elements I can only write from my own personal experience. And there are people who happen to be part of that personal experience, and I don't name names and I'm not trying to hurt, but it's really more about my journey to becoming a more whole person than it is about anybody else. But sometimes people recognize themselves in the storyline. They recognize elements of themselves, though I've never really done a single character who is representative of one single person. And I can't pull punches. I can't always have to apologize and backpedal. I need to be free to actually write my story. And I'm getting sidetracked by this week. I spent several days trying to write an apology video and address things that were brought up by somebody who made a critique of my work, a very angry critique. And we've since apologized, and that's fine. But just because I've apologized doesn't mean that I'm going to totally stalemate. I'm still going to be working with this plot line, and I'm still going to be moving forward. And you might not see as many videos from me, and which is fine, because that's really not my cup of tea to begin with. You might see some travel logs and things like that, but it's not going to be like a weekly video kind of thing. I've really been tapering down on them anyway. I need time to work, and I need time to focus, and I need time to get the Creeping Wife plotline together. I need time to get the Lost Bread plotline together. I need to focus on my own creative projects instead of trying to pander again and apologize. So that's it.
Special thanks to our Patreons, Jan Neff Sinclair, Neil, hey, it's Nikki Benfield, and let's not forget about Grammarica, hey. Go to patreon.com/lucidnap to become a Patreon yourself, or just go to thelucidnap.com. See how it slowly comes forward? That gives me time to say, look in the description below and click on our social media links. Follow along with all the stuff we do. It's pretty interesting. Yeah. Guess that'll about do it for this time around. Hey, thank you everybody for tuning in. I'll talk to you later. Bye! Life in Hiatus is brought to you by the Lucid Nap Productions in cooperation with a hairy old man. Yup. Yeah, we are.